We are continuing our discussion of relational database concepts with the Web2PY framework. We started by looking at the execute SQL command, then we looked at dictionaries, and now we turn our attention to reference integrity. Reference integrity are mechanisms in which we can ensure data integrity in a relational database. So let's take a look at our schema that we looked at before with the orders and products diagram. Before, I illustrated that if we had a product ID here within our transaction table, and we tried to insert a number, for example, of 1000, and there was no corresponding 1000 in the product's ID, that reference integrity would ensure that we could not insert that record. Now, reference integrity can be enforced in the database, but each database is different. Instead, we're going to focus on how Web2PY can make our code very clear as what our intent is in regards to foreign keys. Not only is the code clear, but with Web2PY we can easily build these screens in which we enforce reference integrity. So let's take a look at some code. This is within our db.py file, and it shows our model in which we are describing our data. And we're looking at the same products and orders tables as before. So let's focus on 2 lines of code. These are the foreign keys within the orders table. And by using this reference products, or reference auth_users, we are clearly defining that these are foreign keys, and we are defining which tables they are associated with. In one case, it's products, in one case, it's the auth_user or our customer's table. Now, by using these 2 lines of code, we can clearly show the relationship that db.orders.productsID requires that is within the database. Here we're using a validator, and it is within the database products. And that's connected to the products.id. Now, when we actually display it, and I'll give you a demonstration when we display these user screens that Web2PY creates for us, we want to show the product name instead of the number, which has much more meaning to the user. Similarly, in the following line of code, we can see the relationship in the orders table. We have an order_ID, and it requires that that value must be in the database. Specifically, it needs to be in the db.authorize_user table and have that ID value. In this case, we're going to display the last name of that user. Essentially, these 2 lines of code, reference products and reference auth_users, are very expressive and allow us to clearly understand our intent that these are foreign keys and associated with other tables. So let's take a look at the front-end code that Web2PY automatically develops from these models. Let's go to the database administration tools and try to add a new record. Now, by making these changes, we get drop-down boxes essentially, and that enforces reference integrity. So let's go to the orders table and now try to enter a new record. This is our transaction table, and notice we have the 4 columns as before, but now we have drop-down windows or drop-down boxes, and these allow us to enter and instead of displaying a number, they show us the actual product names. And similarly for the order ID or the customer, we can actually see the last name of their 2 fictitious accounts that we've created. So essentially, Web2PY automatically generates this front-end code for us that enforces reference integrity through code and makes our code very descriptive. Finally, I want to demonstrate one facet that's available to the auth_user table, or any table that's automatically defined as part of the Web2PY framework. Instead of using the reference with the table name, you can simply write db.auth_user, because this is one of the tables given to us by Web2PY. And with that, I don't need this final connection, and so I can comment this 1 line of code out. What this gives us is auth_user is connected to the auth_user table, and when we display it actually out to the user in our front end code, we get much more. In our previous example, we saw the user's last name, but by using this method, we get a little bit more granularity. Let's go ahead and look at the db.orders table and try to create a new record. And for the users, we get the first name, last name, and the user's ID, so we can fully identify that one user that we want to insert within this record. So it gives us a little bit more clarity and granularity with this method. So in summary, Web2PY gives us many tools to protect reference integrity and make our code very expressive.